Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we'll uncover the life of Milton Berle, exploring the duality of his public charm and his private turmoil. He was celebrated as the lovable Uncle Milty, brought laughter to millions, and forever changed the landscape of television. But beneath the iconic smile and unmatched comedic timing lay a darker, more complex story, one filled with scandals, heartbreak, and controversial decisions. From his rise to fame in vaudeville to the secrets that fractured his legacy, get ready to dive into the untold truths behind the man whose smile hid a cruel mind. Milton Berle, born Mandel Berlinger in 1908, started life in the vibrant yet challenging streets of Harlem. His upbringing was modest, far removed from the glitz and glamour of the entertainment world he would one day dominate. His father, a humble paint salesman, and his mother, a store detective, led lives grounded in simplicity. Yet young Milton's life was destined to take a drastically different path. At just 5 years old, Milton's journey into show business began with an unexpected twist. He entered a Charlie Chaplin look-alike contest, likely unaware that this small act would set the stage for his lifelong career. Picture a tiny Mandel Berlinger, mimicking Chaplin's iconic cane twirl and shuffling walk. Against all odds, he charmed the judges, winning the contest and taking home a modest prize, a tin cup. While this may seem insignificant, it marked the beginning of something extraordinary. This victory opened doors to modeling for Buster Brown shoes and landing roles in silent films. These were not mere hobbies for Milton. They became stepping stones to a future in the spotlight. But behind every step of his early career was his ambitious mother, Sarah. She wasn't just supportive, she was the driving force. Sarah went so far as to adopt the stage name Sarah Berle, aligning her identity with her son's burgeoning fame. Her unrelenting ambition pushed Milton into opportunities, whether he was ready for them or not. Sarah Berle's ambition for her son went far beyond simple encouragement. It became an all-consuming mission. She left behind her husband and other children, channeling all her energy into turning Milton into a star, a choice that would shape his life and career in profound ways. Imagine the pressures on a young boy not only to achieve success, but to carry the weight of his mother's expectations. This relationship, while pivotal in his rise, planted the seeds for both triumph and turmoil in his later life. Sarah Berle's overwhelming influence shaped not just Milton's career, but also his personal relationships. Her controlling nature created rifts within the family, with her abandonment of her husband and other children being a stark example. Milton, meanwhile, found himself navigating turbulent personal waters. His marriages were emblematic of this chaos. He married Joyce Matthews, a showgirl, not once, but twice. Their first union ended in divorce in 1947, with Matthews citing cruelty. Shockingly, just 2 years later they remarried, perhaps in the hope of rekindling what they had lost. Yet their second attempt fared no better, ending in another divorce in 1950. These marriages reflected the instability that often accompanied Milton's personal life. Outside of his marriages, Milton's name became linked with several high-profile alleged affairs. Among them was Marilyn Monroe, one of the most iconic figures in Hollywood. While rumors swirled about their relationship, Monroe later claimed she had no recollection of being involved with Berle. Another alleged affair involved Amy Semple McPherson, a Canadian Pentecostal evangelist whose life was already steeped in controversy. While Berle himself fueled these rumors, McPherson vehemently denied the claims. The most significant blow to Milton's personal reputation came in 1999 when his adopted son, William Berle, published a tell-all memoir. The book was far from a tribute. It was a scathing expose. In it, William laid out a long list of grievances, mostly centered around his father's lack of involvement in his life. One story stood out as particularly disturbing. William shared a shocking story. His father had paid for his first intimate experience with a woman. This odd gesture might have been the only instance of paternal interest Berle ever showed. But William didn't stop there. He went on to mock his father's aging appearance, describing the layers of makeup Berle used to conceal his age, and even calling him a pathetic has-been. So how did Milton Berle respond to this public airing of family drama? True to his larger-than-life persona, Berle made a decisive declaration. He vowed never to speak to his son again for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, that vow didn't need to last long, as Berle passed away just a few years later. The memoir added another layer of complexity to Berle's already controversial legacy. It painted a stark picture of a man who, while adored by millions, struggled to connect with those closest to him. While Milton Berle was often criticized for borrowing jokes, his larger-than-life personality left a lasting impression on a future star. A 14-year-old boy named Alan Königsberg once met his idol at a magic shop in New York City. Although Königsberg's clumsy magic tricks didn't impress Berle, the boy grew up to become Woody Allen, an acclaimed filmmaker and comedian with a career marked by both brilliance and controversy. But Berle's legacy wasn't just about inspiring the next generation of entertainers. It was also steeped in scandal. He once claimed to have had an affair with an aspiring actress, whom he referred to only by the pseudonym Linda Smith. Berle later saw a photograph of Smith in a newspaper holding a baby. Convinced the child was his, Berle reportedly never followed up, leaving the matter unresolved. This incident added another layer of intrigue to the already complex persona of Uncle Milty. In it, William painted a damning picture of his father, accusing him of being an absentee parent and recounting troubling incidents, such as Milton funding his first intimate encounter. The memoir highlighted Milton's controversial actions and lack of emotional connection with his son, further tarnishing his legacy. The publication of this memoir brought into sharp focus the duality of Milton Berle's life. While he was celebrated as a comedic icon on stage and screen, his personal life told a much darker story, a tale of strained relationships, unfulfilled familial duties, and a legacy that extended beyond laughter to include heartbreak and controversy. Milton Berle's journey into show business began at the tender age of 12 in the early 1920s, when he took the stage in a revamped production of the musical comedy Florodora in Atlantic City. The show's success later brought him to Broadway, marking the start of a lifelong love affair with performance. By the time he was 16, Berle was already hosting vaudeville shows, proving his natural flair for engaging live audiences. Throughout the 1910s and 1920s, Berle also appeared in small roles in silent films, though some of these appearances remain a topic of debate among historians. His early experience in vaudeville and silent cinema laid the groundwork for his sharp comedic timing and larger-than-life stage persona. In 1932, Berle starred in Vanities, a Broadway musical by Earl Carroll. By the early 1930s, he had become a successful stand-up comedian, drawing inspiration from vaudeville comedy legend Ted Healy. This period marked a turning point as Berle began crafting the routines and comedic style that would define his career. In 1933, producer Jack White cast Berle in the short film Poppin' the Cork, a satirical musical about the end of Prohibition. Not just a performer, Berle co-wrote the film's soundtrack, showcasing his versatility. He continued exploring music, co-writing the theme song for RKO's 1940 film adaptation of Lil Abner, alongside Ben Oakland and Milton Drake. Berle's musical talents extended further when he co-wrote Spike Jonze's whimsical B-side hit, Leave the Dishes in the Sink, Ma. Berle's rise continued through the mid-1930s as he became a regular guest on popular radio shows like the Rudy Valley Hour and the Gillette Original Community Sing. By 1939, he was hosting Stop Me If You've Heard This One, where audience members completed punchlines submitted by listeners. As radio gave way to television, Berle recognized the potential of the new medium. By the late 1940s, he began transitioning from high-paying nightclub gigs to focus on expanding his radio and television career. In 1948, he became the host of Texaco Star Theater, a groundbreaking live variety show on NBC that quickly turned him into a household name. Berle's flamboyant, high-energy performances captivated audiences and even changed American consumer habits. Families would gather every Tuesday night to watch Uncle Milty, as Berle became affectionately known. Businesses, including movie theaters and restaurants, saw sharp declines in attendance during his broadcast time, with some closing early just to avoid competing with his show. His comedy was as bold as his wardrobe. Known for outrageous gags, slapstick routines, and cross-dressing performances, Berle's visual style was tailor-made for the new medium of television. He drew heavily from his vaudeville roots, reviving old routines and adapting them to fit the demands of live television. The result was a runaway success. Texaco Star Theater topped the Nielsen ratings, with as much as 97% of viewers tuning in during its peak. Berle was more than a comedian. He was a pioneer willing to challenge societal norms. In 1950, he clashed with Texaco's executives over their refusal to feature black performers on his show. Berle refused to back down, famously declaring, "If they don't go on, I don't go on." His ultimatum worked, paving the way for acts like the Four Step Brothers, Bill Robinson, and Lena Horne to appear on national television. While Berle was lauded for his trailblazing efforts, he was also known for his demanding personality. His domineering approach on set inspired the 1957 CBS Playhouse 90 production, The Comedian, where Mickey Rooney portrayed a volatile television star clearly modeled after Berle. Though Berle later remarked, "I'm not that bad," the character's parallels to his reputation were undeniable. Berle revolutionized TV with Texaco Star Theater, doubling sales and earning the nickname Mr. Television. His signature line, "Listen to your Uncle Milty and go to bed," became an endearing part of his broadcasts, cementing his connection with viewers of all ages. While Milton Berle commanded attention with his audacious style, his contemporary Jack Benny thrived on subtlety and self-deprecating humor, where Benny built laughs with pregnant pauses and a persona of calculated frugality. Berle embraced spectacle, leaning on slapstick, outrageous costumes, and bold gags to captivate his audience. Berle's live performances were often unpredictable, bursting with energy that demanded the viewer's focus, while Benny's precision and restraint offered a quieter but equally impactful comedic experience. Together they represented two sides of the same comedic coin, each carving a unique path in shaping television's early days. Berle's career saw him embrace both the old and the new. He utilized kinescopes to preserve his shows for future audiences and became an early advocate for innovations like the teleprompter, though he famously declined a chance to invest in the technology. Before Valium became the go-to tranquilizer in the 1970s, there was Miltown. This early anti-anxiety medication was wildly popular in the 1950s, and Milton Berle was one of its most famous users and promoters. Berle didn't just take Miltown, he talked about it on his television show, making it part of his public persona. Thanks in large part to Berle's influence, by 1956, 1 in 20 Americans was using Miltown. His endorsement was so prominent that it earned him yet another nickname, Uncle Milltown. While the drug's popularity eventually faded, Berle's connection to it became yet another quirky chapter in his larger-than-life legacy. In recognition of his contributions, Berle was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1960. Though his career eventually declined as tastes shifted, his legacy as one of television's first superstars remains intact. Berle brought comedy into a new era, proving that the art of performance could thrive in a medium that was, at the time, still finding its footing. While Milton Berle's rise to stardom cemented his place in comedy history, it wasn't without its share of controversy. Behind the laughter was a man whose actions often divided opinions in the entertainment world. While his comedic timing and quick wit won over audiences across America, his peers in the comedy world weren't as impressed. Berle's habit of borrowing jokes from fellow comedians earned him a less than flattering nickname, the Thief of Bad Gags. This wasn't mere speculation. Berle openly admitted to appropriating material, often with a smirk and a quip to brush off criticism. His unapologetic attitude only deepened the resentment among his colleagues, leaving him both admired and despised within the comedy circuit. One infamous incident underscored Berle's boldness, showing that his audacity extended far beyond the stage. During a performance, Milton engaged in his usual crowd work, picking out an audience member to poke fun at. But on this particular night, Berle's sharp tongue targeted the wrong person, a notorious gangster. The situation escalated quickly, and Berle ended the evening with 8 stitches after being attacked with a fork. It was a stark reminder that his penchant for pushing boundaries didn't always pay off. Yet these controversies didn't seem to faze Milton. If anything, they became part of his larger-than-life persona. His confidence, some might say arrogance, made him a polarizing figure, adored by audiences but often at odds with his peers. While many comedians relied on camaraderie to navigate the cutthroat world of show business, Milton charted his own course, fueled by a relentless drive to stay at the top. This duality, his ability to charm audiences while alienating peers, defined much of Berle's career. It's a testament to the fine line between brilliance and controversy, a line that Milton Berle walked with both swagger and defiance. The birth of television as a mainstream medium catapulted Milton Berle to a level of fame few entertainers could have imagined. As the host of Texaco Star Theater, Berle didn't just captivate audiences, he revolutionized how Americans interacted with entertainment. The show became a cultural phenomenon, credited with driving an unprecedented surge in TV ownership. Imagine this: families across the country gathering around their new television sets every Tuesday night, glued to Uncle Milty's antics. In fact, the demand was so high that stores struggled to keep televisions in stock, a testament to Berle's influence. What made Milton Berle a pioneer wasn't just his comedic timing, but his willingness to push boundaries. His cross-dressing routines, while controversial at the time, became a hallmark of his comedy. Audiences were both shocked and delighted by the sight of Berle donning elaborate dresses and exaggerated makeup for laughs. These performances might seem tame by today's standards, but in the 1950s, they were groundbreaking, challenging societal norms about masculinity and performance. Berle's boldness extended beyond comedy. In an era when racial segregation still loomed over the entertainment industry, he made the audacious decision to feature the Four Step Brothers, an all-black tap dancing group, on his show. Texaco, the show's sponsor, initially objected, reflecting the widespread racial prejudice of the time. But Berle stood firm, issuing a now famous ultimatum: if they don't go on, I don't go on. This act of defiance not only showcased Berle's commitment to inclusion, but also set a precedent for integrating diverse talent on national television. However, as groundbreaking as he was, Berle's dominance didn't last forever. By the late 1950s, the comedic tastes of audiences began to shift. Viewers sought fresher, more dynamic humor, leaving Berle's slapstick routines and vaudeville-inspired antics feeling dated. The very medium he helped popularize was evolving, and for the first time, Uncle Milty found himself struggling to keep up. Despite the eventual decline in his prominence, Milton Berle's influence extended beyond his era, paving the way for shows that combined visual gags and live performances which defined early television comedy. By the 1970s, Milton Berle, once hailed as Mr. Television, found himself facing an inevitable truth. The world of comedy was changing, and he was being left behind. His larger-than-life persona, which had once captivated millions, now seemed out of sync with the edgier, more progressive humor that defined the era. Berle's attempts to remain relevant often missed the mark, but none were as glaringly disastrous as his infamous appearance on Saturday Night Live in 1979. At first, it seemed like a golden opportunity, a chance for Berle to bridge the gap between his vaudeville-inspired comedy and the cutting-edge humor of a younger generation. However, the results were anything but harmonious. Milton treated the guest hosting role as if he were still the star of a variety show from decades past. His outdated jokes, over-the-top theatrics, and insistence on commanding the spotlight clashed with the ensemble nature of SNL. Behind the scenes, tensions ran high, with Berle's domineering attitude alienating the cast and crew. One of the most egregious missteps was Berle's prearranged standing ovation during his monologue. He planted supporters in the audience to rise and applaud at a calculated moment, an act that betrayed the raw, unscripted energy SNL was known for. This attempt at manufactured nostalgia only further alienated viewers and the show's team. Worse still, Berle's material leaned heavily on outdated humor, including insensitive jokes about marginalized groups, making him appear tone-deaf in a rapidly evolving comedic landscape. The fallout from his SNL appearance was swift and severe. Producer Lorne Michaels, unimpressed and exasperated, banned Berle from ever appearing on the show again, a rare and damning decision. The incident became a symbol of Berle's struggle to adapt, marking a turning point in his career where his inability to evolve was laid bare for all to see. Subsequent attempts to revive his career, including minor guest roles and a brief resurgence after undergoing quadruple bypass surgery, failed to recapture the magic of his prime. In 1985, at the age of 77, Milton Berle underwent quadruple heart bypass surgery. But instead of slowing down, the surgery seemed to reignite his career. Shortly after his recovery, Berle returned to the stage, performing in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. In 1988, he starred alongside comedy legend Sid Caesar in the made-for-TV movie Side by Side. The film, fittingly enough, centered on aging performers reigniting their careers, a storyline that mirrored Berle's own life at the time. However, Berle was about to learn the hard way that the entertainment industry had changed dramatically. One of his most notable post-surgery appearances came on The Howard Stern Show. Stern, known for his provocative and boundary-pushing interviews, had a clear agenda for Berle's visit: to repeatedly bring up the infamous rumor about a certain part of Berle's anatomy, one often likened to a python. Berle, initially amused, endured Stern's relentless questioning with good humor. But just when things seemed to settle, Stern introduced a twist. As the show opened the phone lines for audience questions, Stern's producers had secretly screened all the calls, ensuring every single one focused on Berle's infamous reputation. While Berle tried to keep his composure, the barrage of suggestive comments left little room for the light-hearted banter he might have hoped for. For all his resilience, moments like these underscored the challenges of staying relevant in a rapidly evolving industry. Berle remained active in smaller capacities, performing in Atlantic City and Las Vegas, but his days as a national icon were firmly in the past. Milton's decline reflected more than just a shift in audience preferences. It was a stark reminder of how unforgiving show business can be to even its brightest stars. In 1989, Milton Berle faced a heartbreaking loss when his second wife, Ruth Cosgrove, passed away. That same year, Berle openly discussed how his mother's domineering influence had negatively impacted his love life. According to Berle, his mother disapproved of him dating any woman more than 3 times, a rule she strictly enforced. However, this didn't stop Berle from tying the knot once again. His third wife, Lorna Adams, was 30 years his junior. But marrying someone younger didn't mean Berle was in tune with the younger generation. A prime example came during the 1993 MTV Video Music Awards, where Berle appeared alongside the iconic drag queen RuPaul. The pairing was memorable, but not in a good way. Berle quipped about how he had also worn dresses in his day, prompting RuPaul to dryly retort that while Berle might have worn dresses, he was now wearing diapers. Refusing to let the comment slide, Berle responded inappropriately, groping RuPaul's chest and haphazardly switching between pronouns to insult her further. As they exited the stage, Berle attempted to link arms with RuPaul, only for her to firmly shake him off in visible frustration. This incident reflected the growing gap between Berle and the cultural shifts of the time. While he was once a trailblazer in comedy, moments like these showed how out of step he had become with modern sensibilities. Fame is fleeting, and the ability to adapt is essential. While Berle's contributions to television and comedy remain undeniable, his later years illustrate the challenges of staying relevant in an industry that's always looking for the next big thing. Milton Berle's final years were a poignant reflection of a life marked by both extraordinary triumphs and profound struggles. Diagnosed with colon cancer in 2001, Berle made the bold and controversial decision to forego surgery. He believed that it wouldn't significantly extend his remaining time, a choice that left fans divided. Some admired his stoic acceptance of mortality, while others wished he had fought harder, hoping for just a bit more time with the man who had brought laughter to millions. Within a year, Uncle Milty passed away in Los Angeles, closing the curtain on an extraordinary life. News of his death rippled through Hollywood and beyond, with fans and fellow entertainers paying tribute to the man who had redefined television comedy. Headlines mourned the loss of a pioneer, while obituaries highlighted both his groundbreaking achievements and his complicated personal life. Even in death, Berle's life remained a source of tension. His burial became a contentious issue between his estranged son, William, and his third wife, Lorna Adams. William, whose troubled relationship with his father had been well publicized, objected to the burial location, humorously citing one of Berle's own one-liners about it being too close to the airport. Media outlets latched onto this family feud, further fueling the narrative of unresolved conflicts that had shadowed Berle's life. Fans, too, were divided. Some expressed sympathy for William, while others criticized him for airing grievances even after his father's death. Despite these personal and familial struggles, Milton Berle's legacy in the entertainment world remains monumental. Widely regarded as the pioneer of television comedy, Berle wasn't just a performer. He was a force of nature who reshaped how audiences connected with the medium. His groundbreaking work on Texaco Star Theater didn't just entertain, it revolutionized American culture, bringing television into millions of homes and setting the gold standard for variety shows for decades to come. Fans often recall Berle's bold comedic style, which included everything from slapstick routines to cross-dressing sketches that pushed societal boundaries. While some of these acts might seem tame or outdated by today's standards, they were daring and transformative in their time. His willingness to experiment with edgy humor resonated with audiences, solidifying his place as a cultural phenomenon. However, Berle's later years offer a sobering lesson about the fleeting nature of fame. As comedy evolved, his inability or unwillingness to adapt to the changing landscape left him struggling to maintain relevance. Critics pointed to his reliance on dated routines, while fans noted that his humor no longer connected with newer generations. The relentless demands of staying in the spotlight weighed heavily, underscoring the sacrifices often required of icons like Berle. Even so, the industry he helped build continues to thrive, filled with entertainers who stand on the shoulders of giants like Mr. Television. Berle's influence can be seen in everything from live variety shows to sitcoms that borrow elements of his groundbreaking format. In the end, Milton Berle's life was a mosaic of brilliance and imperfection. He brought joy to millions, inspired generations of entertainers, and left an indelible mark on the entertainment world. Yet his story also serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that fame, for all its glory, often comes with profound personal challenges. His legacy remains a poignant testament to the complexities of a life lived under the brightest lights. From moments of groundbreaking success to decisions that cast shadows over his legacy, Berle's story is as compelling as it is cautionary. If you enjoyed this journey through the life of Uncle Milty, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the legends of old Hollywood. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.